naming them refundable tax cuts, or tax credits. So where are we on Republicans' effort to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act? And what does it mean for the administration's other plans, like tax reform? Joining us once again for an encore performance is Senator Rand Paul, who has come up with his plan, which is being backed by several Republicans. Senator, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this week, we wanted to have you back because there were some developments this week. You were in the middle of a meeting with the Speaker, House Speaker Paul Ryan, and you walked out of that meeting because you didn't like what you were hearing about Obamacare. Can you tell us what went down?
Well, that might be a little bit overstated. I would say I walked out of the meeting because I had another meeting, and I might have had a grumpy look on my face, but it was, we did have a disagreement, but I didn't walk out really because of the disagreement. It's because of a meeting I had to go to. But all that being said, yes, I do have disagreements. The House leadership, I think, is pushing Obamacare Lite, and I think what we need is complete repeal. We voted on complete repeal about a year ago. That's the vote we should have again, complete repeal. If you do partial repeal, there's a very good chance you'll make things worse. Obamacare is spiraling down the drain, but you know what? If you only repeal part of it, the downward spiral continues.
Right. And one of the issues I know that came up is the idea that if we expand Medicaid, that is very much what we had in the past. I want to get your take on this idea of expanding Medicaid and why that is not a good idea. First, tell me what the pushback is.
Well, you have to have honest accounting. If you are going to add more people to the government rolls of insurance, you should pay for it. Under Obamacare, the deceit was they said, oh, the federal government will pay for it. And basically that's deceitful because the federal government has no money. We borrow about $1 million a minute. We have a $20 trillion debt. So when President Obama said, oh, we'll just pay for it by printing up new money up here, that's not good for the country. So there are two alternatives. One replacement could be, let's provide government health insurance. My replacement would be, let's provide affordable health insurance. Let's reduce the cost of health insurance so the working class can afford it. That's what Obamacare kind of promised, but never came through on. My replacement plan actually would lower the cost of health insurance.
Now, I know that people don't want to see a whole nother entitlement, and that's what expanding Medicaid would be. But listen to what Congressman Peter King told me. I spoke with him last week on Mornings with Maria on the Fox Business Network and asked him straight away about your plan and why this Medicaid expansion is a no-go. Listen to this.
You take a state like New York, 800,000 people have been added to Medicaid expansion. What do you do with that 800,000? If you cut the funding tomorrow, what happens to those 800,000? Because we also pledged during the campaign that no one would lose their coverage. So the idea is, how do you transition from the plan which is in effect now, the Obamacare plan, which was wrong, but the fact is there are 31 states tied into the Medicaid expansion. What do you do to make sure that the transition is done in a way that people are not just dropped off the rolls?
Senator, what's the answer?
Well, I think big government Republicans need to realize it has to be paid for. Someone's got to pay for it. If New York wants to expand Medicaid, New York can. We should give them the freedom to expand Medicaid, but they should pay for it. So what I'm asking for is honest accounting. If you have the federal government pay for it, we pay for it by borrowing money from China. If New York wants to expand Medicaid by raising taxes, they've already got high taxes, they would have to decide. But I'm saying there's another choice. The other choice would be, let's try through competition and through choice to lower the cost of insurance. This is something that should not be, out of the question. Why don't we discuss how we make insurance less expensive?
Because you don't want big government. You don't want government telling you how to deal with your own health care. And you've called your plan bold and a free market plan. And broad. Let me ask you your timeline now, Senator. You guys are now on break for a week. Do you expect that this is going to be the priority next week when you get back?
Absolutely. Obamacare must be repealed. We can't do partial repeal. We have to do complete repeal. We already did this once. We did this in 2015 under President Obama, and he vetoed it. But we voted, I think, nearly unanimously in the Senate and the House. What I'm asking for, let's just vote on the same package, but then let's have a separate package, which is replacement, and then let's try to work out what we want on replacement, but it shouldn't be another big government plan.
Very quickly, final question here, Senator, and that is, if you don't get working on Obamacare in a week, I know you've already been working on it, you've got your plan, but if you don't get this vote going, how does that impact things like tax reform and your other priorities in Congress?
Nothing else can happen, really, until this is done. So this needs to be done in the next 1 to 2 months. But people have to realize this will be a lot done. Repealing Obamacare is a big deal. And we're also at the same time repealing regulations. We've repealed 3 regulations that would have cost the economy hundreds of millions of dollars and tens of thousands of jobs. We've already done that. So we should get some credit for already repealing regulations. It's the first time in 20 years we've repealed a regulation.
Senator, it's great to have you on the program. We're going to be watching the next month and a half. I know it's an important one for this. Thank you.
Thank you.